Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast.
Have you ever had it to where you were going after a goal and you were giving it everything you had and you were getting really frustrated because it just wasn't working out? This is what all of us just had to do to come to you live today. We all want to accelerate your success, to get you into your health, wealth, and happiness quicker, faster, and easier. We are a group of certified hypnotists whose specialty is to help you break through the blocks that are holding you back so then you can live the life that you desire. And we were all having techno challenges, and we decided to keep it, and we made it happen. Now we want to share with you the same tips, tools, and techniques on mindset, so whenever you get blocked, you can continue to move forward. Okay, so we're going to start off with, and I'm going to add going back into the stream. Okay, we're going to start off with whoever might have a celebration, something that's working well. You had a challenging client and there was something that you did to help them break through what was holding them back, because we want to be able to show our clients that they're not in this alone, that they may be having a obstacle right now, and we've already helped someone in a very similar situation. So who has a tip, tool, or technique that they want to share to help a client break through a block? We're celebrating here. So who'd like to start off?
I'll start one.
Yes.
I stole this technique from Dr. Michael Yapko, but some people, they feel like they hear that negative voice in their mind, that negative voice. And so I have them imagine their favorite cartoon character's voice. And then they hear that same critical message in the cartoon character's voice, which makes them smile at least, sometimes laugh. And then if you really have great rapport with the client and the kind of client that would appreciate that, Yapko says you can also have that voice coming out of their bottom. But I have done both of those techniques, and they've been very successful when people hear those kind of negative voices. So, because they realize it's given the importance it deserves. So.
Oh, and coming from the backside just adds another level to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You have to choose who you use that with. But I wouldn't use that with every client.
And I did something similar to that for myself. I had a boss when I was working in corporate that loved to terrorize me. So I imagined him just a couple of inches high, dressed up in a clown suit. And that whenever he would come into my office, I imagined this little tiny clown coming in, and there would be circus music behind him. And it took away his ability to be towering over me and make me feel less than. But I never thought about it coming out the backside. That's excellent, William.
Well, thank you.
Anyone else have something that they're celebrating, something that they're using right now that's working well for challenges that our clients are experiencing? Yeah, Eric, jump in.
When I was going through my phenomenally great certification training from Reverend William Mitchell, my son, who was very supportive of the journey, said, "Dad, if this hypnosis stuff doesn't do anything but help you out, it will be money well spent. Now, I'm not quite sure that all hypnosis is in reality self-hypnosis. I will concede, though, that certainly most hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and I spend a lot of time hypnotizing myself. And the epiphany that I received during my self-hypnosis / meditation / prayer and Bible study this morning was everything I really need to know about life I've learned either in or by kindergarten. And that includes the story of the little train that could. And of course, the little train that could got up the hill by saying repeatedly, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. So when I am overwhelmed by life's experiences and don't know what the solution is, I figure I can still keep going. And I just say to myself over and over again, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can.
There you go. So here's something that I've been using recently. I had a client that was having a challenge progressing. She kept feeling like she was being moved back into her painful past. And for a lot of us, when we think about the future, we keep it right in front of us. But that's not what she had in front of her internally. And she had her past in front of her. So those of us in the business call it timeline therapy. But she had what she was moving into was just repeating habits and patterns. And then her future, what she wanted to experience, actually she was holding above her and it was too high for her to grab it. So we had to be able to switch those things to where her future and what she wanted to experience with her weight reduction was actually put in front of her. And then the past that she was grabbing at and continuing to relive, we put that above her and it was too high for her to pull down and access it again. So that has helped her feel like she's been able to move forward because now she's moving into that future instead of keeping it in a place in her mind where it was too hard for her to reach. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was something that she felt was beneficial to her. So our clients, whether they're joining us live today, catching the replay, or they're on the podcast, Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire, they may be finding themselves right now in the unique position of a second chance, a second start, because things are opening back up. And so we don't want them falling back into those old habits and patterns. What tips would you give someone who's saying, I feel like I want to make the most of this opportunity that's in front of me? What tips would you give them on accelerating their success, accelerating moving forward? So what are you going to give them, guys?
Well, Dawn, I'll share.
Yeah.
My tip was really more of a mindset tip about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. In order to change, we have to become willing to grow up, in a sense, to shift from that child identity to more of an adult identity. Mm-hmm. And to be able to feel our feelings. Because I think that's a really important bridge between childhood and adulthood is to be able to feel the feelings and not run from them. And so I think one way to do that is to do a parts therapy session and help them to understand how that child part is serving them and how to gain cooperation from that child part. So.
Okay. So when you say moving from the child into a part of their personality that's mature.
Mm-hmm.
To feel the feelings and not run from them. So how does that look? I mean, can you give us an example of somebody running from their feelings, okay, and then what it might look like to be more mature with that, and how is that going to assist them in accelerating their success?
So when I'm talking about running from our feelings, I'm talking about not expressing them, not being aware of them, not even being in tune with them, but more like avoiding them. And there's a lot of energy that's stuck in the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
And so when we can start to get real with ourselves, and part of becoming the child to the adult is becoming responsible for where we're currently at. And I believe a big part of that is understanding, well, why do we feel the way we feel? What's going on with us? Let's get real with ourselves. And so when we do that, I mean, if we can come from this space of taking responsibility and being mature, well, that's going to help us with all of our goals, all of our planning, because when we feel like a child, we tend to want to fall down, sort of emotionally speaking, does that make sense? Like, I'll give you an example. I don't like to be picked up. I don't like my husband to pick me up, lift me up or whatever. And so sometimes he tries to pick me up and I'll just go, oh, and I'll fall to my knees. Okay. And to me, that's just a visual metaphor for how we can fall to our knees, or, like, no, I don't want to do that. Emotionally, because we have this little child that's inside of us that's trying to control us and to try to keep us from moving forward with our life, with adult activities, whatever they may be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So, and guys, feel free to jump in on this. So, feeling the feelings means that whenever we are angry because maybe somebody violated a boundary, the boss took advantage of it at work, we're not going home and stuffing that feeling with a bag of cookies to make us feel better. Instead, we're going to go to the source. What's the real challenge? The challenge might be what we don't know how to draw appropriate boundaries, because as children, we were not taught how to do that. So we're not drawing appropriate boundaries, but we don't know how to do that. And so we don't know how to express the feeling in a way that is going to move us forward. So we suppress it or repress it by using food.
Yes.
Okay. So then the idea is to discover what you're really feeling. And then instead of looking at feelings as symptoms, having them direct to a source. What's the real reason why we're experiencing this need for protection? Yes?
Yes. And I had a mentor 20 plus years ago who used to like to say, sometimes you have to let things catch up with you before they'll get past you.
So give us more on that, Eric.
I frequently talk about my emotional scar tissue. I am healed, but I just have to, what's the proper analogy? I won't say sandpaper down, but I just have to make more pleasant my scar tissue. And the way that I do that is acknowledging that had existed, but I can let go of it and let it go past me at this point, because I'm no longer that person. I mean, the human body, and I realize that we are souls in possession of the human body, but the human body completely recreates itself in a 7-year period. So the only thing that remains the same is our spirit and our soul. I mean, even our brains are not the same brains that we had 7 years ago. And as we're sitting here speaking to you today, millions of cells are being destroyed and millions of cells are being created. So I have to recognize that I'm not that guy who had those bad experiences years ago. I need to let that get past me because I'm a new creation.
Okay. So then actually using the foundation of that new creation, the old adage, you can't put new wine in old wineskins, right? So that allowing that new creation, that new beginning, to move you forward instead of always looking at the past. What do you have to say, William?
I'm still annoyed by this little thing. I'm trying to get it off my screen. I'm gonna refresh here real quick.
Okay. So Drew, anything that you want to add into as far as giving people tips, tools, or techniques on how to accelerate their success once they're moving forward?
Well, I guess I'm assuming everybody can see me and hear me. I've been having some challenges making that happen. So at this point, I don't have a whole lot to say because that was what my focus was up until about a minute and a half ago. So
Okay. All right. So
I will pass. I will yield to Angie.
okay, Angie.
I was just going to ask Eric to repeat that quote that you said about we have to let things catch up with us. And then what was it?
Yes, his statement was sometimes you have to let things catch up with you before it will go past you.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is Joshua. It is said that Joshua slew 10,000 Philistines with the jawbone of an ass, and every day the same number of sails are ruined by the same weapon.
I think that was Samson, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Although Joshua was pretty amazing.
So, any other tips on accelerating success? Our clients have been given a second chance. Any other tips on how they can let go of the weight faster, be able to step into prosperity, find the love of their life, or renew that relationship, do better at work? I'm looking at the 5 to Thrive, which is going to be our finances, our health, our love relationships, our career, and then tapping into our potential as leaders, being somebody of influence. Any other tips, tools, or techniques that you have for people to be able to move forward faster in those areas?
Well, I think a principle everybody uses all the time. A lot of what I do is I just remind people what they already know, and I'm sure you guys already know all this. But when you put a person in a situation where they're going to have success, and it changes their self-perception, and when they actually see themselves as, oh, I can do this, or I am this way, or but giving them a successful experience that they can then use as a metaphor of their own understanding of self. And it's like in athletics, they'll often take the team out the first scrimmage, and they'll have them scrimmage against maybe a team they know they're going to probably prevail against. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, we're winners. Well, okay, we're a winner. Now, of course, the people they scrimmage against, they don't feel that way, but
Yeah, really.
There's two sides to that story. But I do think so many times people get it in their head that there's something wrong with me, I'm not any good, and there's a lot of negative talk. And if they can have an experience where they have some success and then recognize that, who am I really? Who am I really? And underneath, a lot of my stuff comes from my religious background. Who are we really? Well, we're really children of God. We're really, the sons and daughters of the King, blah, blah, blah. And if you just put that in a secular mode, who are you really? Well, you're a person of worth. You're a person of value. You have personal potential, and get that idea that your life matters. Your life matters. And it can make a great difference. And, a lot of people, when they come in, they're really struggling because something's knocked them down. a big part of what we do is help them build back up.
And if I could build on what William said, it's like the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Moss, who was a plastic surgeon, but he realized that he could fix a person's physical challenge, but unless that person had a change in mental state, they would feel the same way about themselves. So let's say hypothetically somebody thought that there was something wrong with their nose, which I don't see how anybody could think that if you were born with it. It's yours, it's beautiful, it's uniquely yours. But let's say somebody wanted a nose job. Well, if they thought that the only thing that was going to make them beautiful was having a different nose, they would feel as uncomfortable about themselves after the nose job than before, because our attitudes are based on what's inside of us, not what is outside of us, even if it is as close as the nose on our face, pun intended.
So basically, the cognitive bias is we can only see externally what we see internally, right? And so if we see that we do not matter, that we see that we're always going to be a problem, then it doesn't matter what happens on the outside, because it's going to be perverted down to the pain that we're on in the inside. So how do you guys use hypnosis? Tell me what you would do in a hypnosis session to set them up for success, to let them know that they matter, and to begin to upgrade this bias on how they experience themselves. What would you do in a hypnosis session?
Well, context always matters.
Okay.
The context. But I think what's cool about hypnosis is we sort of know intellectually, academically, that our self-perception matters. But I think what most people would tell you about hypnosis is that it's so experiential. They not only think it, they feel it. They actually experience it as if it was real. You talked about, seeing that person as being really small, that was towering over you. And I thought about that movie, The Water Boy. He'd look over at that coach and, it seems smaller or bigger or whatever. And, but the difference is in hypnosis, they actually do get bigger or they actually do get smaller. They feel it. And, and so when they leave the session, it's a different experience than just doing what I'd call traditional talk therapy, because they really have that experience that sort of happened at least inside themselves. So.
Yeah, okay, so then being able to utilize hypnosis and make them internally larger than what the problem is, whether the problem is a person or an object or an experience, instead of internally seeing themselves so small, making them larger, or the part of them that they may deem unacceptable, like a nose, they actually are able then to experience it in a way where they begin to have more of an awareness of how it works for them, and how they might be able to use their looks in a way that is congruent with where they want to go. Is that right?
Yeah, I think all hypnosis is about focus. And a big problem that many of us have, I certainly have it at times, is sometimes we don't focus on the right things. And we need to be redirected to focus on what really is going to be helpful and what isn't helpful. I had a recent person that she has 2 adolescent boys they have problems. But let me tell you, one of the big things I had to help this person realize is lots of good people have problem kids. You can be a very good person and a wonderful person and really a pretty damn good parent and still have problem kids. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. And I had to have that person refocus on all the good things that are going on and the fact that they won't be adolescents forever.
The pain will end.
They will, at least physically, they will grow up. Now, intellectually, emotionally, well, that's another thing. But but they will not be 14 and 15 forever.
Well, I'm sure we've all experienced people who have continued to be
14 or 15.
Yes.
much past that age. Yes.
Yeah, the children may not grow out of adolescence, but they won't be 14 or 15 anymore.
Okay, so using then in the hypnosis session, her ability to, after the session is over with, continue to keep her focus on what she does want to experience out of her boys.
And you can't control your boys, but you can control you. That's my big thing, is you can't control the kids. As hard as you try, you can't do it. But you can control how you react.
Mm-hmm.
You and then that may affect how they react. Well, it will affect how they react. So the only thing she can control is how she's going to react. She can't make them, because at 14 and 15, let's face it, they're big enough by then you can't make them. You know, if you do, they'll arrest you. So
the authorities are going to get involved. Yes.
That's right. But you can control how you react. And also how you perceive things, just recognize, they're kids. They're not very smart. Most kids aren't. I wasn't, most of us weren't, and you just have to realize that's part of the game, and when you put it in perspective like that, sometimes people can take a breath and realize, oh, I'm not the most terrible person in the world. Because a lot of people, especially parents, take it so personally because they are their children. And whereas if they were a teacher at a school, they'd realize, well, some kids, they just have problems.
Yes, and no longer seeing the child as an extension of themselves, but somebody who is separate.
Right.
And a lot of times I think we can have that challenge with any of our problems, that the weight is not who we are. It is separate from us. It was a reaction. We don't have to own it. So no longer saying that this is simply a part of me. No, it's separate and distinct and disassociate in a way that's healthy.
Right.
Now, Eric, you were going to add to that?
Yes, I am not a sailor. In fact, I don't even try to play one on TV. The sailors tell me that while you can't control the direction of the wind, you can control the placement of the sails.
Yes.
By placing the sails the correct way, no matter which direction the wind is blowing, you can go where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And, but we have to, as William was saying, we have to have that awareness. And then the wind that can be blowing is those emotions, which Angie was talking about. Feel the feelings, use those emotions, ride the wave, find a way to get on top of it. And that's the reason I think why we all really enjoy our careers as hypnotists, because hypnosis is a quick way to do that, to say, use those emotions as fuel to move you forward. Okay.
One archetype that has always come up for me with hypnosis, I think a lot of men grow up and the dominant archetype they're working on is the warrior, and the warrior has to fight and, overcome and conquer and all that. But when I got in hypnosis, kind of like Eric's illustration about the wind, all of a sudden when you're in hypnosis, you realize you're more of a wizard. You're not so much a warrior, you're a wizard. And the wizard finds out how to find the forces of nature or the forces in the world and move with them instead of against them.
Yes.
And I think that's been really helpful for me as a person to look at it more as a wizard as opposed to being a warrior. So.
Yeah, because you do get tired of fighting after a while.
Well, you can fight the wind for a long time, but the wind's going to win.
So in just a moment, I'm going to ask if you have had a challenge with a client, and we can all give suggestions on maybe different tips, tools, or techniques that we've used. But before we get to that, I just would like everybody to share your name and your contact information, so the people who are listening to this and they're like, oh, I really resonated with, I want to optimize the wind with Eric, or with Angie, I want to stop running and beginning to own things, or William, they want to become the wizard, or who knows with Drew and myself. But if you can give them the contact information so they know how to reach out to you. And Angie, we're going to start with you.
Sure. It's Angie Monco, and my email is Angie, ANGIE, @harmonyharbor.com. So it's Harmony, HARMONY, Harbor, HARBOR. Angie at harmonyharbor.com. My number is 314-422-6520. And the website's harmonyharbor.com.
And for those that are outside North America, because I know I want to give a shout out to the Aussies and to all the people over in the UK. I want to say hi to all of you and thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. Always remember to put a 1 in front of the phone numbers that we give you, because sometimes we forget to say that. Okay, Eric, how can they reach out to you?
Well, my name is Eric Banks. My phone number is 314-583-7075. And my website is imagerelationsllc.com.
Okay. William.
Oh, well, I'm really grateful you included me today, and I want to thank the Fergusons for putting this on. But William Mitchell's my name, and my website is Hypno, HYPNO, and then the word program, hypnoprogram.com, and you can reach me on there. And if you need to call, it's of course 1 in front of mine, 217-691-2428. I'm in the Springfield, Illinois area, but like everybody on this call, I'm seeing a lot more people on Zoom than I ever have before. So,
yes, most definitely. Drew, how can they get a hold of us?
Drew at drewdonferguson.com. Phone number is 1-636-866-7864 is mine. And our business number is what?
1-636-699-7791.
That's the one.
DrewDonFerguson.com. CanHypnosisHelpYou.com is CH4U.com. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a client who another CH was having a problem with, and they couldn't be here today. So complete confidentiality. I'm going to just change a few of the details. Okay, so she's having a challenge. She wants to move forward. She had a home that she thought was going to be her forever home, and she's having to let go of it. And she's having to move into something that she's going to make do with it, but it's not going to be what she wanted. Now that can be representative of a career. It can be representative of a relationship. So she was someplace that she thought she was going to be able to stay, and it's not working out. And she understands that. Here's the challenge. Instead of making the most for where she's at, which she knows is a good place, she keeps going back to what she can't have. What are you going to do? What tips, tools, or techniques do you recommend for this other CH to help their client? Because as we know, as we're helping each other, we're also helping the people who are listening to this. Okay, guys, take it away. What are you going to recommend that other CH does?
well, I'd see if the client would buy in on the idea that she's grieving. And if she buys in on the idea that she is grieving, just like any kind of grief, talk about, well, what are you going to have to say goodbye to? That, it's unfortunate, but that's just part of the grief process. And then let that person own those feelings, and then eventually bury those experiences and say, hey, that was a dream I had, but that's a dream I'm going to move on though, because their life is not over. Maybe that piece, that dream is over, but their life is not over.
And William, I love what you said about getting to the point where we can bury it, because those can be seeds for our next level of growth.
Mm-hmm. And I
Okay.
love the seed analogy. That's a neat metaphor.
Yeah, it is. So being able to plant it, bury it, but then allow it to produce fruit just in another area of our life.
Right. That's a nice continuation of that. Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Don, I would try to establish, I use that naughty 3-letter word. I said try. And as of course, we know that you don't try. As Jonah says, you either do or you don't, but you don't try. So what I would do is establish rapport with my partner in hypnosis, and I like that term a lot better than subject. I would establish rapport with my partner in hypnosis by reaffirming the legitimacy of their feelings and not taking away from it, saying, I understand they are legitimate. You have a right to feel this way, but is that exercise of your right making you happy or miserable? If you don't want to exercise your right to feel this way, well, let's think of some strategies that can help you appreciate the here and now a little bit more and realize that you're really blessed, you're really fortunate, you're really successful, you're really prosperous in non-material ways. And while you acknowledge the reality of the past is behind you now, one day you'll think about your past settings and feel like smiling instead of feeling like crying.
Mm-hmm. So again, going back to the grief and saying it's okay to be this way, but also saying, okay, how is this assisting you? Is it assisting you in a healthy way? Or at some point, we are going to have to decide how to move on. Any other recommendations?
Yeah, I think that we need to get the subconscious, need to get buy-in from the part of us that is grieving and to be open to a new way of relating to life. And so a common thing that I have seen that's helped people with this is to really nurture ourselves. You know, remember the little one I talked about, the child and then the adult, and that the bridge really between the two is to feel the feelings and to acknowledge them and all of this. I think that especially for the inner child, we need to learn how to nurture that part of us. You know, let us know that, like when I lost my daughter, Maddie, I have 2 stuffed elephants. You know, the elephant is a symbol of her and I. We got a tattoo on our feet of elephants. So I have this stuffed elephant, and it's, yeah, I mean, I know it's not real. It's not her. It's just her, it's got her clothing on the elephant. But and I'm looking at them right now. But they're comforting. They're comforting to my inner child, you know, and the part of me that is grieving. So whatever we need to do to access the part of us and to acknowledge it, reassure it, you know, give it what it needs, and then we can go on to be, you know, move on. We can become the adult that we need to be in other areas of our life, but still always acknowledging that hurt, grieving part.
Yes. And so I would just add one more thing onto all of this, is that, yes, we can have an aspect of us that's grieving, and we will not disrespect ourselves or the situation in activating the part of us that can be excited over new beginnings. Because there's another part of us that gets excited whenever we start on a new adventure. And just because we're starting on a new adventure doesn't mean that what we had to say goodbye to is any less worthy. So we can also utilize hypnosis and have them connect with previous times in their life where that they were enthused and full of energy because something new was happening, and then bring that to the present and apply it to what they happen to be moving into. that it doesn't have to be, I'm either grieving or I'm thrilled about moving forward. They're not exclusive. We can actually have each one of those in their own place at the appropriate time. And there's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, I had to let go of that, and I'm really sad over it. Oh, but oh my gosh, this is a new journey, the place I'm in. And so let me bring back that passion for new beginnings. Okay. So anybody else have a challenge with a client, or something that you've experienced and you want input from the group as far as what would you do with this?
I had a funny one I might offer. Just one of the people you were nice enough to refer to me to be trained, one of my former students, is seeing clients now, and he actually texts this weekend. And he says, "Well, what do you do if he said, what do you do if they don't quit smoking?" The first time I've had somebody not quit smoking, I'm like, well, I tell people when they come to my office, do you guarantee I'll quit smoking? I say, well, friend, let's be honest with each other. I said, the minute you walk out the door of my office, I can't guarantee you can find your car in my parking lot. Some of this is up to you. And I told him, I said, just tell that client they can choose to do more sessions. You'll work with them, but some of this is up to you.
Yeah, when people go, can you guarantee this? And I'm like, if I could, we would not be talking. I'd already be rich and retired on my own island because I can guarantee human behavior.
That's right. That's right.
There's no magic wand to bonk you on top of the head and say, oh, you're fixed. I will say when I have people come back in and they've have the challenge, maybe they pick cigarettes back up again, or whatever it was, they picked it back up again. My question is, what are you getting out of keeping the problem?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing something for you that you don't think you can get any other way without this problem. So let's really begin now to peel back layers, because what this is trying to tell you is, do not address the symptoms, get to the source, get to the cause. And so it's actually a great way for our clients to tell us, hey, that there's more to this that needs to be addressed.
And
Fabulous.
depending on what side of the bed I woke up on that morning, I'll either tell the partner in hypnosis, sure, I'll give you a guarantee. I'll guarantee that you'll get the desired result if you guarantee that you'll do everything I tell you to do in hypnosis, and which will be reinforced by the pre-talk before hypnosis, which also will be reinforced by the post-hypnosis talk. So I'll be telling you the same things 3 different ways at 3 different times, only one of them in the hypnotic state. Now, if I want to be a little bit less wordy, what I'll say is nothing is guaranteed, not even penicillin.
Right.
You're right on that. Okay, so as we begin to wrap up, and I want to let all of you know that after we conclude, stay on so we can chat for a couple of minutes. But as we begin wrapping up for our audience, what is one of your takeaways from today that you want to reinforce, not just for yourself, but for everybody that's listening? What did it mean for you? And I'll start. Setting up our clients to experience success, going back to that scrimmage. Mm-hmm. So it reminds me that when I'm working with someone, maybe it's on weight reduction. Hey, let's start you out at 60 seconds of exercise per day, because we've got to give you something that you can accomplish. You want to get a new job? Okay, great. 1 resume per day. So let's set it at something that you can do. Of course, we're going to increase it, but we've got to give the subconscious a foundation for moving forward without overwhelming it. So setting up the experience for success is what I'm taking away from today. All right. Who else has a takeaway from today?
I would just add to what Dawn is saying by rephrasing a little bit and saying, establish the expectation of success. That way you're setting up the client to win in your when you shake hands with them when they come to your office. Okay, the initial greeting, you set the expectation and you continue establishing the expectation all the way to the point where you pat them on the fanny as they go out the door. Okay,
Yeah.
That's it.
Although we don't pat anybody, just to let you know.
People frown on that.
Yeah, we're not touching anybody.
I forgot that part.
Yeah. Yeah, you see all these years,
I've been missing out.
Any other takeaways?
Well, my takeaway is if Samson could do everything that he did with the jawbone of an ass, how much more can I accomplish given all of my opportunities and blessings?
Oh, quote by Eric Banks. Okay, love that. Any other takeaways?
Yeah, I think that our mind, and we're working with the mind with hypnosis, is just like a committee, about all these different people, and we're trying to get buy-in and cooperation from all these parts of our mind. And I liked what William said in the very beginning, which was about, we have this critical voice in our head. So maybe it's our critical father, mother, whatever. And to give that a cartoon voice and have that voice coming out from the bottom, I thought that was brilliant to try to, because how many people can we help influence when we use humor?
Right.
So.
Yeah, thank you. And I give credit to Dr. Yapko. That's where I got it. So
Yes.
but I did love Don's metaphor of the planting the seeds after the burial. They're like seeds that can grow and blossom into something new. I love that because that brings hope into the darkness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, without hope, it's really hard to move forward.
Yeah. Drew said expectancy, hope, and they're very closely related. But expectancy is stronger probably than hope. But hope has to be there. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go around. Angie, contact information one more time.
Angie Monco, it's 1-314-422-6520. It's Angie@harmonyharbor.com.
Eric.
Eric Banks at 1-314-583-7075. And the website is imagerelationsllc.com.
William.
William Mitchell, and my website is Hypno, HYPNO, and then the word program, PROGRAM.com, hypnoprogram.com. And I'm in Springfield, Illinois, and the number is 217-691-2428.
Drew.
636, my number 699-7791, the business number 636-866-7864. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Actually, he reversed those, but it's good.
Reversed,
just reach out to us.
Sorry about that.
CanHypnosisHelpYou.com. All right. So, bye, everybody.